What if you woke up one day, and everything wrong in your country, your poverty, your fear, your future, was blamed on one group of people? Not with evidence. Not with logic. But through repetition so powerful, it felt like undeniable truth. This is not just a story about hatred. This is the story of how Adolf Hitler took an already existing prejudice, reshaped it into a political weapon, and turned it into the core belief of Nazi Germany. And the most disturbing question is not how he believed it, but how millions of others did too. Antisemitism, or hatred toward Jewish people, existed in Europe long before Hitler was born. For centuries, Jewish communities were treated as outsiders. They were excluded from certain professions, forced into segregated neighborhoods, and often blamed for disasters they had nothing to do with. In medieval times, Jews were falsely accused of spreading plagues. In different parts of Europe, they were targeted during economic crises because they were easy to isolate and blame. These patterns created a long-standing culture of suspicion and prejudice. By the late 19th century, this prejudice began to evolve into something more dangerous. New theories emerged, ideas that claimed human beings could be divided into biological races, ranked from superior to inferior. These theories had no scientific basis, yet they gained popularity. They provided a framework that transformed religious discrimination into racial hatred. In this new worldview, being Jewish was no longer about belief. It was seen as an unchangeable identity. This shift would become central to Hitler's thinking. As a young man, Adolf Hitler lived in Vienna, a city filled with political tension, economic inequality, and rising national exclusion. It was here that he was exposed to aggressive anti-Semitic propaganda and political rhetoric. Vienna at the time was a place where extremist ideas were not hidden. They were openly discussed in newspapers, speeches, and public life. Hitler absorbed these ideas. Over time, they became deeply embedded in how he interpreted the world. But it is important to understand, Hitler did not invent antisemitism. He radicalized it. After World War I, Germany faced one of the most severe crises in its history. The country had lost the war. Its economy was collapsing. Unemployment was rising rapidly. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh penalties that humiliated the nation. For ordinary Germans, life became uncertain and unstable. In times like these, people often search for simple explanations to complex problems. And Hitler provided exactly that. He claimed that Germany had not truly lost the war on the battlefield. Instead, he promoted a conspiracy theory known as the stab in the back myth, the idea that Germany was betrayed from within. According to this narrative, Jews, along with other groups, were responsible for the country's defeat. There was no evidence to support this claim. But it didn't matter. Because it gave people something they desperately needed, a clear enemy. Hitler's ideology became fully visible in his book, Mein Kampf, written while he was in prison in the 1920s. In it, he described Jews not as individuals or religious groups, but as a dangerous and manipulated race. He accused them of controlling finance, influencing politics, spreading communism, and weakening society from within. This was not random hatred. It was a carefully constructed worldview where all problems, economic, political, and cultural, could be traced back to a single source. By simplifying reality into a clear division between us and them, Hitler made his ideas easier to understand and more powerful. When Hitler rose to power in 1933, these ideas did not remain in books. They became state policy. One of the most effective tools he used was propaganda. Under the direction of Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi regime built one of the most sophisticated propaganda machines in history. Newspapers, radio broadcasts, films, posters, and school textbooks all carried the same message. Jews were portrayed as dangerous, dishonest, and less than human. Children were taught these ideas in classrooms. Families heard them on the radio. Citizens saw them in films and public displays. The repetition was constant. And over time, repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity can be mistaken for truth. But propaganda alone was not enough. The Nazi regime began to turn ideology into law. In 1935, the Nuremberg laws were introduced. These laws stripped Jewish people of their citizenship and basic rights. They prohibited marriages between Jews and non-Jews and redefined who was considered German. With these laws, discrimination was no longer social, it became legal. Jewish citizens were gradually removed from public life. They lost their jobs. They were excluded from schools. Their businesses were boycotted. Step by step, they were isolated from the rest of society. Then came one of the most shocking events before the war, Crystal Night, or the Night of Broken Glass, in 1938. Across Germany and Austria, Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues were attacked and destroyed. Thousands of Jewish men were arrested and sent to concentration camps. The violence was not spontaneous. It was organized. And it marked a turning point from discrimination to open brutality. As World War II began, Nazi policies grew even more extreme. What started as propaganda and legal discrimination escalated into systematic persecution. Jews were forced into ghettos, crowded, controlled areas with poor living conditions. They were deprived of food, healthcare, and basic human dignity. But even this was not the end. In 1941, Nazi leadership began implementing what they called the final solution. This was the plan to systematically eliminate the Jewish population of Europe. Mass deportations began. People were transported in overcrowded trains to concentration and extermination camps such as Auschwitz. There, millions were murdered in gas chambers. Others died from forced labor, starvation, and disease. By the end of the war, approximately 6 million Jews had been killed. This genocide is known as the Holocaust. But the most difficult question remains: how did ordinary people become part of this system? The answer is complex. Some believed the propaganda. Some were afraid to speak out. Some followed orders without questioning. And others chose to ignore what was happening. This is what makes the story so important. Because it shows that such events are not only driven by leaders, but also by societies that allow them to happen. Hitler's anti-Semitism was not just personal hatred. It became a structured ideology, reinforced by propaganda, supported by laws, and carried out by institutions. It transformed prejudice into policy. And policy into mass violence. Today, this history serves as a warning. It reminds us how dangerous misinformation can be. How powerful propaganda is. And how easily fear can be used to divide people. Because the process did not begin with violence. It began with ideas. Ideas that were repeated, normalized, and eventually accepted. Understanding this history is not just about the past. It is about recognizing the signs in the present. Because when a society starts blaming its problems on a single group, when truth is replaced with emotion, and when hatred is presented as solution, that is where the danger begins.